A first program in C++. Every line in your C++ program is going to be most likely one of these three activities. It's either going to be input, or it'll be processing, or in other words, calculations, or it could be output. So these are the three main activities of a program. They do not have to be in this order. In fact, a lot of times you'll have input, another line of input, some output, another line of input, some calculations, some more calculations, and then output. So you could have multiple lines in a program that do one of these three activities. So let's look at our first like very basic program. I've already opened up VS Code and I already created a new source file and named it firstprogram.cpp. So I want to make this pretty large so you all can see it. So I'm going to start with the first line that absolutely has to be in every program you write. #include IOStream. Now, the pound, anytime you have a line that starts with pound, this is called a preprocessor directive. And what that means is that the preprocessor is going to be running this particular line. And what this line will do is it will take a file that comes with the C++ language called IOStream, and it will pull it into your program. Now, IOStream stands for Input Output Stream, and it's what allows you to do input and output in your program. Okay, so #include IOStream. The next line that has to be in every program is using namespace std. Namespaces, you will work with namespaces more in the data structures and algorithms class, but a namespace is a way to organize names that you come up with as a programmer in your C++ programs. STD stands for standard. The next thing that has to be in every single C++ program is a main function. And the main function is basically where your code starts executing instructions. So the main function begins with the word int, main, and then a beginning and ending parenthesis. And then we enclose the lines that belong to the main function within a beginning and ending curly brace. So this is a beginning curly brace and an ending curly brace. Now, inside of the main function, we will have one or more programming statements. A statement, so I'm going to write programming statements go here. By the way, I didn't mention this. Anything that starts with a 2 forward slashes is called a single line comment, and it is not read by the processor at all. I'm sorry, by the compiler at all. It is completely ignored. Okay, so I'm just going to come up with a programming statement. This particular statement will print out hello class to as output. This is output. So we'll learn more about output in a future video. But every programming statement ends in a semicolon. So you notice using namespace std is also a statement. It ends in a semicolon. This is a statement that prints something out to the screen. It ends in a semicolon. And I'm going to write one more statement in this program. Return 0. And it ends in a semicolon. So the return statement is where the program ends. The 0 in return tells the operating system that this program has completed successfully. So every program has to have #include IOStream if you want to do input and output, using namespace std to organize the names, a main function, and return 0 to indicate successful end of a main function. Okay, let's save this program. I hit Control S to save, but also I have an autosave feature on in VS Code. And now I'm going to build or compile this program. And it's kind of hard to see because I'm zoomed in so much. Let me actually get rid of the Explorer there. So here it ends in like a less than sign, and then there's no errors or warnings, so I know it compiled successfully. Another way I know is I see a firstprogram.exe has appeared. And so now I want to run this program. So I hit the plus sign to get a fresh new terminal. And I'm going to type the name of the executable file, first program. Notice it says hello class, and that's exactly what this program does, is print out hello class to the screen. Okay, so let's talk about a few more things while I have this open. I'm going to create something called a variable, and again, we'll have a future variable where we learn a whole lot more about variables. And everywhere where you see int and anything else actually that's in pink, so #include, using namespace int, return, these are called keywords in C++. And I'm going to pop open, I have a internet browser open to your zybook, and I'm in section 2.3, and down near the very end of section 2.3 there's a table, and this table has all the C++ reserved words or keywords. So what is a reserved word or keyword in C++? It's a word that you can only use for its intended purpose. So you can't use any of these words to name anything else in your program. So int, you'll see int is in this list. Also using is in this list. And so you see, you will not have to memorize this list of keywords or reserved words. However, by the end of the semester, you will know most of these, and you'll identify them as keywords or reserved words. So you kind of just learn it by practice anyway. This word, number, I came up with that. And this particular line defines a variable or creates a space in memory where I can save data. So I'm going to save, in this variable, I'm going to save the number 7 inside of this variable called 7. So number is called a variable because I could change the value inside of number at any time throughout this program. 7 is called a literal. A literal is something that doesn't change throughout the program. Also, hello class is considered a string literal. The 7 is a numerical literal. So when you hear me say literal, it's something that's not going to change in your program, a value that won't change. Variable is something that could possibly change. I already showed a single line comment. There's also multi-line comments in programs. Usually, or at least in my class, I definitely want you to put a multi-line comment at the top of every program that you write. And what I like for you to include there is the title of your program, firstprogram.cpp. Author, that's your name, so I'll put my name, April Crockett. Date, today's date is 8/27/2020. And purpose, a first program in CSE 1300. Now, how did I make a multi-line comment? I did a / and a star to begin the multi-line comment. I did a star and then another / to end the multi-line comment. So everything between this, these two symbols or these two characters here is going to be ignored by the compiler. I could have written anything I wanted there. So that's a multi-line comment. 2 / indicate a single line comment. A multi-line comment can span more than one line. Single line comment can only go on this one line. Also want to point out the white space, in other words, the blank space where nothing else is in this program. Let me zoom back out a bit. So I put a space on line 7, a space on line 10, a space on line 15. And I only did that for readability. So you do want a little bit of space throughout your code just to make the code more readable. The space is completely ignored by the compiler. So this program will compile whether I have this space in there or not. Also, notice that the lines 13 through 17 are indented. Every time you have a block of code, which a block is anything inside curly braces, you need to indent all the lines that are in that block of code. So mine is indented by 2 spaces because that's what VS Code does by default. But it's also acceptable to have 3 or 4 spaces or even tabs for your indentions. The key is that you need to be consistent. So every single one of these lines inside of my main function are all indented the same amount. We will talk more about indentions as you learn more about programming, because there's other things that are kind of rules of good programming practice with indenting and with white space. But this will at least get you started. So there's your first program.